That's the power of love.
Alright, phase 3. When I got to phase 3, I was absolutely miserable, and I was a year in college at the time. And I cannot describe to you how difficult phase 2 was, where I was going to meetings, I was going out in service, I did unassigned territory, all well, I didn't believe it was the truth, and I was just tap dancing around every issue when I was up on stage and stuff. So I took a calculated risk because I realized that my parents didn't care that I was in the religion for the right reasons. They only cared that I was going to meetings, and basically it wasn't the reality of the situation they cared about, it was the perception of the situation that they cared about. They wanted my perception to be I was a perfect, loyal witness, and that they were raising this perfect, Jehovah's Witness child. So since I realized that the perception was more important to my parents than the reality of the situation, I decided I was going to take that away. So I remember thinking, I'm like, look, something's going to have to come up. And I looked for it. I looked for something to come up that I really didn't agree with, and that my parents would agree that it was okay for me not to agree with this. So I waited for one of those old timers to give a prayer. And he prayed, "Oh, merciful Lord, Jehovah, Jehovah's Witnesses, the only true religion, blah, blah, blah." And he finished up talking about how happy we were all going to be watching the wicked get destroyed in Armageddon. And I remember I made I didn't make a huge scene, but I made enough of a scene for people to notice I didn't say amen. I just I remember I sighed heavily and I walked out, immediately following the meeting. Immediately. Once that prayer was done, I went, and walked out. So, on the car ride home, what was that about? I'm like, did you hear that prayer? He says, "Oh, I can't wait for the people to die, and it's going to be great. We're going to be so happy." I'm not going to be happy. I don't know who you're living with, but I don't believe this is true. I haven't for the past 4 years. I'm not going to survive Armageddon. I don't know, you can rejoice at my death if you want to, but I'm not going to rejoice at other people dying. That's not the way it is. Why am I going to say, amen? I can't wait to die and have everybody say, yay, he's dead! Isn't that great? So, here's the deal. If you still want me to go to meetings, I absolutely go to meetings. I was cut short. You're going to meetings. I'm like, fine. That's fine. But I can't dance around the issues anymore. I'm going to tell people the way I feel. I'm going to do it out in service. If you want me on the talk, I'm going to give a talk that you're not going to believe. I'm just going to tell them my beliefs. I'll say it nicely. I'll say it politely. But it's going to be my beliefs and no one else's. It's not going to be anyone else's beliefs but mine. So obviously I didn't want that to happen. So I remember them saying, "Well, what do you want to be off the school?" I said, "You know what? I'm in college now. I have ridiculous amounts of time that I have to spend doing homework. At the time, I wasn't just taking the regular 4 classes. I was taking 6 classes, and I was actually taking I was auditing class. I went at it when I was in college. So basically, they said, "Don't worry, we'll handle it. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. We'll talk to the elders." And so I talked to the elders. I didn't have to do any talks anymore. And also, I said, "Look, if you really want me to go on service, I will, but I don't want to." And so I had to talk to the elders and say, "Look, I don't want to go to out in service anymore. It's too much for me." My parents specifically told me, "Don't tell them you don't believe it's the truth anymore." I'm like, I can't hide it. If they ask me out, I'm going to tell them. But they didn't ask me. They just said, "Oh, why aren't you going out in service anymore?" And I'm like, "It's too much for me. I can't handle it." And I never got announced as inactive, which was kind of weird. I don't know why that happened. I didn't stop going out in service. They never announced me as inactive, so I don't know why that happened. And basically, one day, someone actually asked me, because I left the school, because I wasn't going out in service anymore, because I stopped answering at meetings. and they noticed I wasn't saying amen to prayers. So they asked me, they're like, "What's going on with you, Dan? You seem like something's wrong." And I just told them flat out, I'm like, "Look, I don't believe this is truth, and I haven't since I was in high school. I'm just doing this because my mom's forcing me." And you only have to tell one person that for the whole congregation to know. So actually, I'm kind of off here. I was about 18 when that happened because I was in this phase for about a year. So once that word got out, basically no one talked to me anymore. So I just came to meetings, sat down, sat right next to the window. That was my thing. Sat next to the window. No one came up to me. No one bothered me. No one talked to me. I just sat there and I looked down at my Bible, and that's where the perception, poof, was gone. Once that perception was gone, my parents had nothing to gain by me being at the meetings, because even though I was there, I wasn't a good associate. I certainly wasn't a good Jehovah's Witness. There was, I was just there, and the people knew I was being forced to go to meetings, and I'd rather not be there. So it turned out that my parents actually told me, said, "Do you want to go to meetings anymore?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me? I've told you twice already I don't want to go to meetings." Like, it's ridiculous. And they're like, "Well, maybe you need some time away, and let's try this out for a couple weeks, see how it's going." Obviously, I was just there was like a giant weight. It was like, finally. And basically, the other part is, even when you leave, you need to abide by the rules in their house. I knew that I wasn't going to be having parties at their house when they were gone. I just stuck to my schoolwork. I did my work when I was at school. I didn't bring friends over that they didn't approve of. I basically told them, like, "Look, I'm going to have friends that aren't Jehovah's Witnesses, and I don't have to bring them here. I certainly won't stay out super late at their house. I'll tell you where I am. I'll let you know right now I'm not going to be, alone with any girls anywhere, so nothing's going to happen there. And, if you don't want me going over the house, that's fine. I can still hang out with them while I'm at school. They know I'm at school the majority of the day." So it turned out really well, where I ended up being able to leave the meetings. I didn't have to go anymore. And I remember that first meeting that I didn't have to go to was a Tuesday night. And my screen name for everything forever was Tuesday, because that was the most glorious day of my life. For those who don't believe anymore, this is your best option. This is how you come to your parents to tell them you no longer want to be a Jehovah's Witness, you no longer believe, and you don't want to go to meetings anymore. I never shared a crossword with my mom. I never yelled. I never screamed. We never had an argument. We never went to war over this issue at all. Not in the slightest. So really, if you want to know, if you don't want to know, if you still don't want to know, then I would say this is your better option. And try it out. Let me know.
And if you want to be free, be free. 'Cause there's a million things to be. You know that there are.
Make a one man weep, make another man sing. Change your heart to a little white dove.